Okay, I'm recording.
I'm here.
Hell yeah. Behind the paywall again, baby.
Well, I thought you were going to start, because I've noticed every regular episode, well, not so much lately, but was starting with the welcome message. But every exclusive usually starts with, so, and we both do it. We both start exclusive by saying so at the start.
Oh,
and I do it
really?
with guests, too, yeah. Yeah, it's one of those ticks that I've noticed that no one else has called us on yet. So fuck you guys. You missed it. You missed a chance to get the greats.
Yeah, you could almost have had our skulls on your wall.
The one flaw of our podcast, and we fixed it before you could catch it.
That's it. It is there was definitely some early episodes where I was like kind of listening back because I was still kind of enamored of what we were doing, but I have not done that in a really long time. Do you still do it?
I'm trying to think. Not really. Like a little bit. Mostly, I'll do it just like a little bit here and there, and I'll be like, "Wow, we said some funny things that I didn't remember saying." But
what a funny podcast we have, huh?
a couple of funny lads. But no, with like fucking first date, I didn't even put that one on. I saw the runtime after we uploaded it, and I was like, no, I'm not going to do that.
No, thank you.
I already lived it.
Yeah, but like the conversational tics that you recognize but somehow cannot correct are so frustrating. And the
right. And that's, I don't know if we've said this on air yet, but only very recently have you stopped signing off our calls by saying cheers.
Yeah, it's because like everyone.
and sometimes I would hear you go, all right, man. We'll be like, oh, that was a good episode. You're like, all right, man, cheers. Fuck. You say fuck as you hang up.
It truly did feel like I was in some sort of like manners school. Like I was like a rough and tumble woman from the other side of the tracks, but I needed to learn how to hold my spoon correctly to win the love of the prince. And
wow, so regressive gender roles here in this.
Yeah.
In this picture that you're painting.
Again, we're behind the paywall.
We are, although this is the sort of banter that belongs in front almost.
No, all of my regressive gender opinions you have to pay for. So
I mean, we're just like last time we did exclusive. We're on like hour 8 for you or something today.
Yeah, so I did Joel's podcast for like 3+ hours. You and I already recorded today, this week's episode, which I guess is coming out after this episode comes out as exclusive. And yeah, it's like it's almost 11 o'clock at night here, and I just feel like my entire day has been Blink 155 podcasting, like my entire Sunday. And
now
I've
you know
loved
what my
every
life
second
is
of it.
like.
Yeah, this is like a small taste of what it is to be truly dedicated to the pod like Josiah.
Well, that is such a good segue. My God. Fantastic.
It's the one thing I'm here to do, Josiah.
So, I've noted I run our socials. In case you didn't realize that,
I actually always wondered. I was like, who's doing this? What psychopath?
Wait, I thought it was you.
Oh.
People also people have complained to me that the word socials is so gross. And it really is, but it's like
what does it say?
I thought socials was gross when I first heard it used like at a magazine like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
But then it was one of those things that I thought was gross, and then I started saying it like as a joke to gross out my friends, and then I just started saying it. It's kind of like one time we heard someone say that they were stoked for something, but they said that they were juiced, and we thought it was so gross that for like 3 years, we just said we were juiced all the time, and then I think like that person won. You know what I mean?
And instead of something stoking you out, did it juice you out?
Yeah, exactly. So like I get that the word socials, it's like also when you work in a magazine and they talk about sponsored content, they call it SpawnCon. And like, yeah, that's gross and you should feel ashamed of yourself, but when you like write clickbait for a living, you don't have shame anymore.
And
so
also you gotta drop those sibs, man.
Yeah, exactly. Like, who has time for that shit? We don't.
Not in the just fast-paced world of SpawnCon.
Yeah, exactly. But anyways,
but wait,
so
hold on. What are
you
you supposed to call the socials? Like that's what I appreciate that it's. Like
I guess you're supposed to say like
but
social media accounts if you're not, or maybe if you say I run the accounts. I don't know. Like,
but that makes it sound like you're like an old-timey ad exec. I'm an accounts man.
maybe the real crux of the problem is that there's no way to run social media accounts for a branded endeavor and not be a disgusting waste of human flesh.
Yeah, or even have like a decent job title, because everyone who has those accounts is like social media maven, social media ninja, like
That shit, guru.
like no one has a normal title, and admittedly that's like a trend that is probably 10 fucking years old, but it still exists. Like if you're on LinkedIn, you'll see tons of people hiring like social media wizard.
Well, also, like, it's funny because people use those kind of descriptors to mock the losers whoever are the losers that are, like, running Wendy's and all those eye-rolling accounts that are, like, clapping back all the time.
No, they're so cool, man. It's so funny.
It's like, I mean, I hate that shit, too. I think it's corny because I'm so cynical, obviously. But also with the Blink-155 one, I obviously do that shit and it works every time. like the other day when the other Blink-182 podcast DM'd us and said hello there, and then I just wrote "The Angel from My Nightmare." Like that's actually not funny at all, but people loved it. So.
I did.
Yeah, I mean it works.
You
just have to like
understand.
someone without a face talking like a human is funny to people online. So it's very easy to run the socials.
Right. But just because it's easy doesn't mean that you don't deserve, a pat on the back and, some Patreon money every month for your troubles.
Right. Thank you, my dear leader. But what I was going to try to say was, running the Twitter especially, I would notice like we're getting so many followers all the time, but yet our number is not changing ever. Like it's not increasing because people are so rapidly unfollowing us. For a short period of time, I noticed that the band Cloud Nothings was following us, and they've long since unfollowed.
Oh, that's disappointing. I was so excited about that one.
Yeah, it is disappointing. But then if you just take a brief look at our Twitter feed, it is the most alienating experience to follow Blink-155 on Twitter.
But if you like Blink-155, the podcast, I do feel like the Twitter is a logical spiritual extension. Like if you listened to a 3-hour First Date podcast, followed that Twitter account, and it somehow was not what you expected, I don't think you heard the 3-hour First Date episode,
Well, you might be correct. I think that there is a piece of information missing for the more than casual fan who's ready to dip their toes a little deeper. And so that is the purpose of this episode.
Right.
It is the Blink-155 Pod Nation Twitter Explainer. And so play the theme music now for that.
Right. So just to be clear, the purpose of this episode is to explain to casual fans what is happening on Blink-155 Twitter, and it's safe to assume that not one of those casual fans would be willing to give us the $5 a month that is required to hear this episode.
Well, I mean, let's be honest, it's also just an excuse for us to be even more narcissistic and up our own asses.
Yes, that's the truth.